In this video, we're going to take a few minutes and we'll walk through each one of the audio settings when the system is set up in network mode on your new Pioneer in-dash receiver. Even though your particular in-dash receiver may be a 1-DIN model or a 2-DIN model and may or may not have a built-in CD player, the button operation in this demonstration is identical for the following Pioneer Audio in-dash receiver models: FH-S722BS, FH-S722BS and 622BS, FH-S720BHS, DEH-S 6200BS and 6220BS, DEH-S 7200BHS, FH-S720BS and 722BS. All right, so we are on auxiliary input right now as our source. Now, this could be any source, AM, FM, radio, Bluetooth, whatever you want to listen to, but we're going to start with auxiliary input, and we're going to press in on the volume control. And let's roll along here until we find the audio menu. There's audio, and we'll press enter. The first thing we see here is the EQ settings, and please be sure to check out the EQ video. There is a full EQ video set up for these in-dash receivers. I'll show you a complete operation on the EQ. There's also a Smart Sync video. If you choose to use the Pioneer Smart Sync app on your phone, there's a Smart Sync app EQ video available for these in-dash receivers as well. So please check out that. Let's roll over to the next setting here, which is our balance control. Now, please note that this is a balance control because the system here is set up in network mode and not in standard mode. In network mode, we get a balance control, and if we roll over to the next setting, you'll see it's not the fader because there is no fader control when you have the system set up in network mode. In network mode, all of the speakers are considered to be the front speakers, so there is no fader control. For balance, you can press in on the volume control, and you can use the balance control here. There's the left, and we'll roll over to the right or back to the center. All right, when you're done making your adjustments there, we'll go back, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is the subwoofer control. The subwoofer control can be switched off, or you can press in and switch it on, and when it's on, you can change to the normal phase or to, whoops, let's go back there, or to reverse phase. So normal or reverse phase. For right now, I'm going to keep my subwoofer in its normal phase, though in your vehicle, be sure to check the reverse phase on the subwoofer. You may find that either normal or reverse sounds much better than the other setting. Both of them are perfectly good to use. Okay, let's roll over to the next setting on subwoofer here, which is over to our speaker level, and we'll press enter here. So with speaker level, we have the high left speaker. If we roll over here, we get the high right speaker. Then we get the mid-range left speaker, the mid-range right speaker, and then we have the subwoofer output. So all of the speakers in network mode are considered to be front output, right? So the high output left here, we can adjust by pressing it on the volume control. We can make that a little louder or a little quieter as compared to the other speakers. Now, anytime you make an adjustment here on speaker level, you are adjusting the output level of that one speaker as compared to the others. So the others are not affected at all. We'll press in on the volume control and go back from high left. We'll go to high right, press in, and we can also make an adjustment here. We'll make that a -2. And we'll press in on the volume control, roll over to the next setting. These are our mid-range speakers, mid-range left, and we have the exact same settings there. We can make an adjustment here, and we'll go back over to the mid-range right side now. So for best audio quality, you want to set these things at 0 or lower, and that way you can always turn up your master volume to higher levels. In many applications, it makes a lot of sense to lower the speaker output of any given speaker to balance out the sound in your system rather than raising the output here. You can always raise the output using the master volume control. So let's go back in there. And we are at high left. Let's take a look here. So if we use the plus side of the speaker level control, we can go to +10. If we use the minus side of the speaker level control, let's see how far we can adjust this. So we can adjust all the way down to -24. So you have much more adjustment range in the minus side of this than you have with the plus side. So your best control is to use the minus side of the speaker output, or lower the volume of any given speaker compared to the others when you are trying to balance out your system. So let's see, we'll go over to the highs. We saw the mids before, and there's the subwoofer control. We have the same type of settings here. We can add a little more into the subwoofer control, or we can roll it back out, go in the other direction. All right, when you're done making your adjustments there, let's go back, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is our crossover settings. And the crossover settings are for the high, mid, and low because we are in network mode. So we'll press enter here. Here's our crossover settings for the highs. This is the mid-range, a high-pass filter for the mid-range, and a low-pass filter for the mid-range. So your highs are a high-pass filter. The mid-range is a high-pass filter and a low-pass filter. That means it's a band-pass filter for the mid-range. And, of course, you have a subwoofer output as well. So let's get in here a little bit on the highs, and we'll press enter. So here we have a high-pass filter switched on for the high output. We'll press enter to go over to the crossover frequency. So we have available frequencies here. We'll go down to the lowest frequency to start. 1.25 kilohertz, 1250 hertz. Then we move up to 1.6, 2 kilohertz, 2.5, 3.15, 4 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, 6.3, 8 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, and 12,500 kilohertz. You can select any of those crossover points for your high frequency output. This is the high output for the tweeters. If we press in on the volume control, we can adjust the slope for that crossover at any given crossover point from 6 dB per octave to 12 to 18 to 24 dB per octave for your slope for the high pass filter for the tweeters. When you're done making that adjustment, we'll go back and we will roll over to the mid-range output, the high-pass filter for the mid-range output. We'll press enter there. First thing I want to get to is my, first is the HPF. So this is the high-pass filter for the mid-range. And if I want, I can switch that high-pass filter for the mid-range off and have it be a direct pass-through. So that's one setting. Here I'll switch the high-pass filter on, and let's take a look at the crossover frequencies that are available for the high-pass filter for the mid-range. We can go all the way down to 25 hertz on the high-pass filter, and we have selectable frequencies here. I'll just scroll through them slowly so you can take a look. From 25 hertz all the way up to 250 hertz as our high-pass filter. So for right now, I'm going to set this at let's say 80 hertz as my high-pass filter for the mid-bass, the mid-range. And we'll press in on the volume control, and my slope that I have for that crossover can be set from 6, 12, 18, or 24 dB per octave at any given crossover point that we choose. So we're going to press in on the volume control, and we're going to go back one here from the mid-range high-pass filter to the mid-range low-pass filter. So this is the other side of the band pass for the mid-range. We'll press in on the volume control here, and of course we have that low-pass filter. If we roll over here, we can make it a straight pass-through if we want. If you want to have a crossover on that, on the low-pass filter, you can do that. And we have the same crossover points available on that low-pass filter. So we start at 1.25 kilohertz there. 1.6, 2 kilohertz, 2.5, 3.15, 4, 5 kilohertz, 6.3, 8 kilohertz, 10, and 12.5. And let's see, we'll roll this back to 5 kilohertz for right now. Everything below 5 kilohertz will be played by the mid-bass driver there. And of course, my slope that's available for any given crossover point is 6, 12, 18, or 24 dB per octave. And we'll press enter to go back around here. Now, let's go back and we'll roll over to the subwoofer output and press enter. And with the subwoofer output, we have a low-pass filter that we can switch off if we want and make it a direct pass-through. And we can switch it on, press in on the volume control to get to your crossover frequencies for your low-pass filter for your subwoofer. And they are everywhere from 25, 31.5, 40, 50, 63, 80, 100, 125, 160, 200, and 250 hertz. That's as high as the low-pass filter will go. If we press in on the volume control, you'll find that the slope for the subwoofer output is a little bit different here. So as low as we can go on the slope is 12 dB per octave, or as shallow, I'm sorry, is a better word to use. As shallow as we can go on the slope is 12 dB per octave. We can make it 18, 24 dB per octave, 30, or all the way up to 36 dB per octave, which is an amazingly steep slope and very, very powerful audio tool for designing your system here. So you have very, very powerful audio tools here in crossover and slope settings built into the in-dash receiver. Let's go back now, and we are going to go back one more there from our crossover settings over to our listening position. So listening position is how we focus the image inside the vehicle. We can choose front left, or we can choose front right, or we can choose all front speakers. Now remember, we're set up in network mode here, and in network mode, all speakers are considered to be front speakers. So our choice is front left, front right, or all front speakers. We can also choose to switch network mode off. Now, this is an important setting to pay attention to if you want to use time alignment in your system. If you want to use time alignment, you need to choose one of the position settings. So for right now, I'm going to choose off here and hit confirm, hit yes to confirm. When I roll over to the next setting here, you'll see it goes directly to save settings. But I don't want save settings. I want to be able to choose my time alignment settings here. So I need to go back, and under position, I need to choose at least one of the positions. So for example, I will choose front left, and we'll press enter to confirm. And my next setting here, as I roll over here, I see time alignment. So if you don't see time alignment in your settings, that means that you don't have a listening position selected. You have to have at least one listening position selected. So under time alignment, we have three different settings available here. We have the initial setting that is built into the radio. We have time alignment switched off if you don't care to use time alignment, and you have a custom setting available. Let's look at the custom setting here. So time alignment is available for every speaker in the vehicle, and under network mode, the speakers would be high, left, and right, mid-range, left, and right, and the subwoofer. So here we have the high left. We also have the high right available. Here we have the mid-range left, and we have the mid-range right available, and we have the subwoofer available. So we'll roll back here to high left and press enter. And here we can enter the number of inches from my listening position to the high left speaker. And we'll roll that back a little bit here, say to 31 inches. We'll press in on the volume control, roll over to the next setting, which is high right. So the distance from my listening position to the high right speaker is now set at 54 inches. Maybe that's back to, I don't know, 47. And we'll do the same thing for the mid-range speakers here. And again, in this demonstration, this is the left side first. Left side is a little closer to me. And we'll go over to the right side. The right side is obviously a little further away. And then we'll go to the subwoofer. And under the subwoofer setting, I'm going to drive, in this demonstration, a little bit longer vehicle. So maybe my subwoofer is a little further away. So once you're done making your adjustments for time alignment there, we'll hit the arrow to go back. Then I'm going to hit back and roll over to the next setting, which is to save my settings. Now, if you spend a bunch of time figuring out your time alignment settings, you probably want to save them. So press in on the volume control and confirm yes that you want to save your settings, and the system will tell you that yes, your settings have been saved. If you ever go and change some of the settings and you don't like what you've done, roll over to the next setting here, which is load those settings. I can choose to load the sound settings by confirming that. Those sound settings that I saved previously are now loaded into the system, and nothing has changed for me. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is our dynamic bass control. And dynamic bass control has a couple of different settings for it. We'll press in on the volume control here. Right now, dynamic bass control is switched off. We can choose dynamic bass control low level, or we can choose the high level. Now, you see, when I switched on low here, this bass setting came up on the screen. When I roll over to off, bass goes away. The notification that the dynamic bass setting is gone now is there. So I'll roll over here and set it on low for right now and confirm that. Now let's exit this menu. I'm going to hit the go back button a couple of times here to exit this menu. We're back out to our auxiliary setting, and I can still see that bass setting is there. If I touch the big bass button here, that switches dynamic bass off. If I touch the bass again, my dynamic bass setting comes back on, and it comes on to the low setting. So let's go back and check that just to confirm what we're doing here. There's the audio settings and dynamic bass, and we are back on that low setting that we chose before. So with 3 settings here, high, low, and off, choose the one that sounds best to you in your vehicle. You may find that dynamic bass works best on the high setting for you. That's what you like best. Maybe you don't like the way the dynamic bass setting sounds in your vehicle. You can choose to switch it off if you want. We'll hit OK to confirm that and roll over to the next setting, which is our loudness control. And loudness is typically used to raise the higher frequencies and the lower frequencies to compensate for things when the volume is at a low setting. So if you want to use the loudness control, you can certainly do that. It has 3 settings, low, mid, and high. And if you don't want to use the loudness control, you can choose to switch it off. Again, choose the one that works best for you. You may find loudness is most effective at low listening levels, and when you turn it up to higher listening levels, you may choose to switch it off. So let's roll over to the next setting, which is our source level adjuster. Now, when we started this video, I want you to remember that we were on the auxiliary input. And let's go back into the SLA setting here, or source level adjuster. So source level adjuster allows us to raise the volume or lower the volume of any given source as compared to the other, as compared to FM. So if you're on the AM/FM radio source here, SLA does not show up because the source level adjuster is all compared to FM. So I'm on the auxiliary source, and I can make the auxiliary source a little louder as compared to FM, or I can make it a little quieter as compared to FM. Now the SLA setting here will show up on all of the sources except FM radio. And that means CD, USB, auxiliary input, Bluetooth, whatever you happen to be listening to, you can make that source level adjuster a little higher or a little quieter as compared to FM. And the idea here is very simple. When I switch between sources, when I touch that source key there and switch between sources, the volume level shouldn't spike way up and then spike way back down given one source to the other. That's the idea, the designed idea behind SLA. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is Pioneer's Advanced Sound Retriever. Advanced Sound Retriever has 3 different modes. It has off, then it has level 1 and level 2, and it is used to make digital sources sound a little bit more lifelike than compressed audio. So if you're listening to MP3 or listening to CD or anything playing back through USB and anything playing back through Bluetooth, Sound Retriever is available. You can choose to switch Advanced Sound Retriever on to level 1, and you see the Sound Retriever logo pops up on the screen there. Touch it again, you get Sound Retriever level number 2. Touch it one more time, and Sound Retriever is switched off. So even if you are playing a store-bought CD, you can still use Advanced Sound Retriever if you want to. You can play anything through Bluetooth. You can use Advanced Sound Retriever. And remember that if you don't like the way it sounds, you can always take the time to switch it off. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is back around to our EQ settings. When you're done making your adjustments to your audio settings, you can hit the Go Back button to escape.